Hi, this is Emma Hemming-Willis.
And I'm Helen Christoni.
Welcome to our Make Time podcast. We are two women on a mission to uncover the secrets of making time for everything.
From work and relationships to our brain, body, and beauty, we'll explore it all and share it with all of you.
We interview experts so we can discover more practical tips to make time so we have more time for our family, friends, and ourselves.
So join us as we chat with incredible guests who share their expertise on all the ways we can learn to make time, especially for you.
Okay, it's time to make time. Neurophysiologist and human performance coach Louisa Nicola is the founder and head performance advisor of Neuro Athletics, a consulting firm that boasts the best athletes in the world. By using science-driven data from EEG scans, lab tests, and cognitive assessments, Louisa has the first-class ticket inside the brain of elite NBA and MLB stars. Louisa graduated from the University of Sydney Medical School with a Master of Medicine in Neurophysiology and is currently completing her doctorate under the guidance of Dr. Tommy Wood at UW, studying the effects of resistance exercise on the brain. So let's make time for Louisa Nicola. Louisa Nicola, welcome to the Make Time podcast. We're so excited to have you on today.
Hi, guys. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
My gosh, our pleasure. So I would love just to start by getting to know you a little bit. Can you tell our listeners who you are?
Yes. So my name is Louisa Nicola. I am a neurophysiologist and I dub myself as a human performance coach. That's what I've been doing over the last 10 years. A neurophysiologist is, a lot of people ask me, it's a subspecialty of neurology. So I specifically am an intraoperative neurophysiologist. So once or twice a week, because I don't work in clinical practice anymore, but once or twice a week, I will go into surgery, often a craniotomy alongside a neurosurgeon, and basically drop electrodes in the brain and monitor the brainwave activity and basically figure out whether maybe somebody is paralyzed or not. But to the extent of that. So on my day-to-day, I have my own practice, Neuro Athletics, and we're pretty much operating as an education company now. So we teach other coaches human performance and how they can help athletes, entrepreneurs, absolutely anybody achieve their peak through our 6-step system.
I love it because I've been very into hyper focus on performance lately. So I'm really excited to talk to you today. I'm really stoked.
I also love following you on Instagram because I just think that you have so much great information that you share and put out there. I've learned a lot from your page. So thank you.
Thank you. It's really interesting. My research focus is on Alzheimer's disease. I have a really great systematic review coming up now, which has taken me around 6 months to write. And it's an up-to-date review on the latest interventions as it relates to mild cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's disease. So my biggest mission is this space. I'm constantly in it. I'm constantly reviewing it. I'm constantly looking at brain scans, MRIs, really trying to find out what are the greatest interventions to slow the progression of this detrimental disease. So I'm happy that you're enjoying the Instagram.
I really am. So let's get into some of the questions today. So what is the most important thing that you make time for and why?
Exercise. And this is the reason why. I am a bit biased because I am really, really deep in the weeds of understanding the research behind exercise. And I want to really get the nomenclature right now because the CDC currently recommends 150 minutes to 300 minutes of physical activity per week in order to just maintain healthy lifestyle, health span, and lifespan. However, if you actually understand the word physical activity, it is anything above a sedentary. So me just walking to the kitchen. So when I say exercise, I'm talking something that is deliberate, running, weight training, fast-paced walking, etc. And I think that if you really understand the science behind this intervention alongside nutrition and sleep, I do believe, in my opinion, that exercise far outweighs any other intervention that you can do to preserve your health span, your lifespan, and of course, stave off some of these neurodegenerative diseases that I spoke about earlier. So I make time every single day to exercise. Now, I understand that there are many people out there listening thinking, maybe you're a new mother, a new father, maybe you've got 3, 4 kids, you don't have time to exercise. However, I do think that everyone can make time to exercise. And it is by far the greatest thing that you can do for your life, for your mental health, for your overall longevity.
I love this because right now for me, I'm like working out is my non-negotiable. Like every single day, I have to work out no matter what, because I just know how good it is for my brain health, for my mood, for my like performance throughout the rest of my day, and just making me a little more pleasant for those around me. Right.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to hear you kind of go down this path today. Because it's really such a focus, I know, like for both of us right now. So if you could give our listeners, like, what are 3 very actionable tips that you think that they can do to kind of incorporate this into their life? Attention, all busy women. Let me introduce you to Make Time Wellness, the wellness brand that's here to make your life a little easier. Say goodbye to the hassle of multiple pills. We have crafted delicious drink mixes that are packed with brain-boosting, body-nurturing, and beauty-enhancing ingredients. Make Time supplements are the perfect addition to your daily routine. We have loaded them with key essential ingredients like MCTs, omegas, biotin, multivitamins, and curcumin. You will feel the difference in no time. Ready to give it a try? Head over to maketimewellness.com/podcast20 and you will get 20% off your first order. Make your brain, body, and beauty a priority today with Make Time Wellness.
First thing is you can start at any time, and it does not matter if you're starting from a completely sedentary lifestyle, well, then that's where you're going to get the most benefit. So the very first thing that you need to do is just get up and walk. Walking is so accessible. It's free. It can be done anywhere in the world, and you will get a lot of benefits from it. A mental health perspective, a heart health perspective, and a brain health perspective. I live right in Manhattan in New York City. I walk around 25,000 steps per day. I'm not saying everybody should. However, if you want to start anything, then just get outside, start walking, incorporate it into your life. Instead of driving to the gym, maybe walk to the gym. Once you get that going, the first thing after that would be try and schedule some form of resistance training. If you can do this, if you can just start off with 20 minutes per week, then that is all you need. You don't need to bombard your brain and your mind with so many hours upon hours of getting into the weights. You're just getting into the weights room. You just need to start somewhere. The best thing you can do if it's affordable to you is get a trainer, because you really want to maximize your time in the gym. And I think that everyone should really understand movements when it comes to weight training. Even myself, I have a squat trainer because my form is always so off when I'm doing squats. So even for me, I've got a trainer. If you can do that, it will really benefit you. And then last but not least, there's a really fascinating part of exercise that we don't speak about. It's neurocognitive training. That's where you're doing things such as hand-eye coordination, reaction time, information processing, like maybe tennis is part of that. Yeah, you like tennis? Yeah. So
Yeah.
It's just so good for your brain. We know that our brain ages quite rapidly. Over the age of 30, our brain begins to atrophy. And if we can preserve some of these cognitive functions, which live in the frontal lobe of the brain, so-called our prefrontal cortex, this deteriorates. So if we can preserve some of these cognitive functions, we can preserve our cognition as we age. And you can do this with many forms of exercise, but one that I love to do is getting into some form of neurocognitive training. So maybe get a friend, go down with some tennis rackets, hit a ball, play squash, anything that involves ball movements or reaction times will really help you.
I love that because I have been taking tennis lessons.
Oh, I love that.
What's so interesting is that when I'm out there on the court and my coach is sort of unteaching me all of my bad habits, but there's so many things that you have to think about and your reaction time and as you're hitting the ball and the way that you're hitting the ball. And I've I realize that sometimes my brain actually feels old.
Yeah.
It sounds very weird, but like when he's giving me all of these points and tips, it's like I have to remember all of them before I hit the ball.
Yeah.
And I just think like and I feel like I'm repairing my brain in some way. So I love tennis, and I love that idea of getting out there with a friend, playing,
And you know what you're actually doing, Emma? What you're doing is you've got to, people don't understand too much about how to stimulate growth. So, for example, when you go to the gym, we're really going because we're placing stress upon a system. That stress is, let's just say, our biceps. In order for our biceps to grow, our bicep muscle, we have to place stress and tension on it. So we do that with a weight. And once it's, the muscle fibers are torn, they repair and they get bigger. And that's how we've placed stress on the system. It adapts, it grows, and that's how we keep moving. It's the same thing for your brain. So when you're going out and you're placing stress, you're feeling this mental fatigue, as you just described it, you're placing stress on these different cognitive performance areas, and then it grows. You develop like a stress-proof barrier. So then the next time you go out, you will learn faster, quicker, you'll be able to adapt to it. And that's just how we keep going and keep going. The sad thing is, once we retire, from work, we've seen this in the literature. We've seen that when a person retires, they end up accelerating their loss of these cognitive functions because they're not talking to people, they're not socializing, they're not putting their brain under stress from work. So it's really good that you're doing that.
It's also like muscle memory, like you saying that. It's like when I get out there, it's like now I'm able to remember what was told to me from my previous session, that I can bring it into this one and then keep growing from there. So it's like this muscle memory that sort of kicks in. But yes, I have seen that when people retire and the complete and total decline.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you see some people, that are super active in retirement, and it's just like such a difference, like my father, he's like probably 4 days a week. He goes out. I think he's in his 80s.
Oh, wow.
And he hikes 4 times a week. He's in the gym twice a week. And that's everything to him, and he's fit and healthy and he eats good. And, so yeah, a lot to aspire there. I know that, you're like, I'm a big fan of rhodiola, and I learned about rhodiola several years ago, and how it like decreases your cortisol and improves your performance, and how all these like cosmonauts and athletes, and Olympians were taking it. And so I just wanted to talk to you about it, like as someone else who's researched it, and share like, what are your thoughts on rhodiola? Because it's a really awesome supplement if you're out there trying to get active.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just mentioned something, lowering cortisol, which is what I've seen, especially when it relates to stress. So I'm currently taking rhodiola. I'm actually taking it throughout the day because what we can see is that it's an adaptogen. So it adapts to the current environment, meaning that if you have high cortisol levels, which by the way, anyone does, as soon as we wake up, we should also point out that cortisol isn't bad. It's like Goldilocks. Too much of it can be bad. It can lead to a chronic inflammatory state. Not enough of it can be very detrimental. So we need some form of cortisol. We need inflammation in order to repair in certain ways. It's when it becomes chronic. And what we see, especially with modern times in 2024, a lot of the disease states, when we can look at Alzheimer's disease, we can bring that back to an inflammatory state. We can look at cardiovascular disease, we can bring that to an inflammatory state. We can look at headaches, and that can be brought back to a neural inflammation state. So we know that we've got a lot of inflammation, i.e. high cortisol in the body. So we know that we need to calm it down in some way. Unless you have all the time in the world to go out and throughout your day do these micro doses of maybe a cold bath or meditation, maybe you'd bring your cortisol levels down. But if we're being really honest, we can't do that. So I'm actually supplementing. I'm getting all of my clients to do this as well with rhodiola. I'm currently doing it 3 times a day to be honest. And I do this mid-morning. I don't do it in the morning because that's when you want your cortisol levels to actually be at its peak. That's when I train. So I'm doing it at around 11 a.m. and then again at 3 p.m. and then again at around 7 p.m. So it constantly adapts to how I'm feeling, and it's bringing the cortisol levels down.
I love rhodiola at like 3, right? Like that's like my favorite time to to take some
Yeah.
rhodiola. I never thought about taking it later in the day because I don't know why, but for some reason it feels like it gives me that edge, and I'm kind of nervous to get that edge later in the day because I'm so hyper. So, but it's an adaptogen, so it makes sense. It will adapt to what your needs are.
Yeah. And surprisingly, I've actually seen this in my data. So I track my data like religiously. My entire apartment looks like it's a lab, but I use heart rate variability as a metric for my performance. So every morning I look at it and I'm using this. Let's just say I'm using the Oura Ring, which I wear religiously. And I look at my HRV data and I know that it is correlated with my stress levels. And we know that it's it's the variability of our heart rate. So whether we're in sympathetic state versus parasympathetic state. And I know that when I take rhodiola, I'm actually increasing my heart rate variability because throughout the day, I'm just so stressed. So I don't want to be in that sympathetic state all day.
It's so interesting because my husband, like his stress on the Oura Ring is so high all the time. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like I'm up for like 2 hours a day and you're like 6 hours a day. So I should give him some rhodiola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's good information.
Can you tell us what you are not making time for that you're going to commit to making more time for today?
What I haven't been making time for, I should say, is spending time alone without devices. It sounds funny, right? I sound like a kid. My brother and his wife actually have this. They've got 3 girls. They've implemented this new strategy where it's like a no device policy. I'm like, that's what I need. And I find that when I get away from all of my devices and I go for a walk, maybe for an hour and a half, I feel so calm. I go out and I need to start doing that. Actually, if I have time, I need to start doing that every night, maybe, or every day, whenever I get some time throughout my day, just to go for a walk in nature, get that forward ambulation, look at trees, look at the sky, and just be completely disconnected from my phone to the point where nobody has the ability to contact me. I don't have the ability to get on Instagram or YouTube or anything like that I'm just walking around with my thoughts. That's what I'm going to make time for.
And are you walking around with your thoughts without listening to a podcast?
Just me, unplugged. I used to do this when I was a triathlete, when I used to run, and I've forgotten that and it upsets me. So that's something that I want. Now that it's getting warmer, that's something I'm going to start implementing.
I run, and that's one of my favorite things about running is to just completely break up with technology. And I feel like especially in the beginning of the day, I can really wrap my brain around my day. I can be strategic during that time because I'm actually focused, and while I'm working out, like where my brain goes is really productive if I allow it to be productive. So, as a fellow runner, I really, my favorite part of running is not having the phone.
It's also, what it's making me think of is like when you're in the shower and you have these incredible thoughts that sort of come to you because you're in the shower. I mean, granted, you're doing all the things, but like you're thinking, you're not strapped to your technology. Like you have a moment to think. I think my best thinking comes from the shower.
Yeah. Yeah. My best thinking comes when I'm outside walking without my phone. And it's actually amazing the things that you see. You're just like, it sounds so crazy, but if I've got my phone out, which I do first thing in the morning, I'm walking to the gym and I have my phone on me and I get to the gym, and if anyone contacts me, like somebody on my team, I will take that call and it interrupts the flow. So it's definitely takes a toll on you. So I get my best work done as well when I'm outside walking.
I also like to walk and listen to a podcast. That is my issue. Or it's like if I'm out running, like I need hype music, I need hip hop blaring in my ears in order for me to run. So very difficult for me to disconnect from my phone when I'm out. But you know what? I'm going to try that.
Yeah, definitely.
How can we find you? How can our listeners find you? And
well, I hang out on Instagram, as Emma said earlier, Louisa Nicola _ at the end. I have a YouTube channel, and we also have a really well-performing newsletter that goes out twice a week. It's the Neuro Athletics newsletter. So that can be found on Substack.
Great. And we'll add all of that to the show notes below.
Yes.
Thank you so much. This was really so awesome to hear from you. And I love that we're all Team Aura. And
Yes.
really love
Team Brunette.
Yeah, Team Brunette. Really great talking to you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for what you two are doing. It's really great.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope that listening to our podcast has empowered you to make more time for yourself. So please remember to subscribe and share with a friend who could also use a healthy reminder on the importance of making time.
Make sure to tune in as we will continue to have incredible guests that will share their Make Time tips on our upcoming episodes. Come say hi to us over on @MakeTimePod on social media or visit us at maketimewellness.com.
Until next time, make time.